Morning everyone to this meeting of the Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue Fire Pensions Board. We have received apologies from the Chair for today, so please could I ask members of the board to nominate a chair for this meeting only.
I nominate Mark Baxter.
Do we have a seconder? Thank you,
Happy
Councillor.
to second that.
Thank you, Councillor McGonigal. Yeah, I could see you raise your hand online. So, if that's unopposed, that carries. Over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you all. Welcome to this morning's Pensions Board meeting. In regards to apologies and absence, we've just got the one apology, I believe, Tom?
Yes, as mentioned from the Chair, Bill Jackowitz.
Thank you. Oh, and yes, thank you. We do have apologies from the finance representation from LCC, and we have got an agreement that's being picked up at the next board meeting. Okay, have we got any declarations of interest?
Councillor McGonigal.
Yeah, I think it should be known by the board and to declare an interest in the sense that I myself have a firefighter's pension with West Yorkshire Pension Fund. I consulted with Democratic Services last week and they advised that I declared that as an interest at this meeting.
Thank you, Councillor, and we'll have that noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the minutes of the previous board meeting. We're just looking for accuracy, and then we'll pick up the actions as we go through the sheet. So if there's anything from page 3. Only action which was going to be at the top of page 4 was that the terms of reference be amended to include the 2-year term for the chair. I believe, speaking to the current chair, that has been updated. We just need to ensure that that's going to be published. So, yeah, that can be closed. Thank you. And going down on page 5. 6. Oh, make sure I haven't skipped by any actions. I'll just make sure. Are the outstanding actions in regards to the so we've got a few that we're going to pull in together, and then we'll probably pick these up within the section 5 issues, and that's the officers review the extent of the impact of Lincolnshire regarding the shortfall in annual benefit statement, and that the board determine whether the ABS shortfall constitutes a material breach, and if so, reported to the pensions regulator. Vicky, do you want to come in when we're going to pick this up?
Yes, that's correct. It's in my verbal update.
Okay, thank you. West Yorkshire Pension Fund circulated the breach report for Lincolnshire Fire DBS to the board, which I believe we have that has been actioned. We have that.
Yeah, I think that's a monthly report, isn't it? Yeah, we receive that monthly.
Okay, and confirming that the officers confirm that the staff processing Matthew's cases are familiar in using the correct case notes.
Yes, we're using the up-to-date versions of all guidance and calculation tools.
Excellent. And that officers confirm that relevant staff are aware of the updated template guidance for the age discrimination remedy.
Yes, this has been circulated and the relevant team members have been reminded.
Okay, thank you for that. That can be closed as well, thank you. Now to page 6. On page 7, the actions in regards to the pension board plan in regards to 2121 and 2122 have been updated, and in regards to the risk register, they've been updated as per the review of the risk. That's been updated and closed. Thank you. Page 7 and page 8. Excellent, thank you. We'll call that as a accurate set of minutes and actions recorded. Thank you. Okay, over to, sorry?
Can we have a vote on the accuracy of the minutes?
We can have a vote, absolutely. Have we got a proposal that accurate minutes?
Yeah, Councillor McGonagall proposed that, yeah. So,
Thank you.
is everyone in favour?
Yep, favour? Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Now, over to you, Helen, in regards to item 4, performance data for West Yorkshire. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I mean, there are 3 monthly client reports attached to the minutes, and I'm assuming that everybody has read them. So I don't propose to go through December and January unless anybody has any questions or comments they want to make on those. Generally speaking, what we update in part 5, it gets moved on the month after, so nearly by the time it's sent out, a lot of it can potentially be out of date. So if we just focus on February, which is obviously the latest one, got the KPIs and the only one there that is out of time is estimates. And as you'll be aware, we have been having issues just with all the additional workload and the increased numbers because the annual benefit statements don't give the projections they used to. We haven't been hitting the 10-day time limit, and there have been some delays in producing these. But we are working with what's called an oversight board, which has 5 scheme managers on and is led by LGA. And within that board, they are, as well as focusing on Matthews and Sargent, they are focusing on business as usual for pension estimates and retirements. And the agreement is that pension estimates will be supplied within 12 weeks of receipts in date, and we should be dealing with them in date of receipt order. So although it is a breach of the KPI, the average time taken is 16.5 days. So that is meeting the agreed time frame that we've got with the oversight board at the moment. So then follow on from that, and you've got just a number of graphs, work in progress, your web registration number graphs. Then you've got your membership numbers, which are just standing items, just detailing the position at the point that the report was produced. And then obviously the key parts are where we're giving kind of administration updates in part 5. So there's a whole part there on a new update on Matthews and the limited processing time we have, because we can only process cases between the date we receive the new interest rate for that month and the date that payroll closes down, so that we can run the payroll to pay the pensioners. So it was just an update on the numbers done there, update on some staffing for the Matthews team, and we are currently in another recruitment exercise to get some more staff within the Matthews team as well. We held a meeting with all our clients on the 28th of January specifically about Matthews. And I'm not sure whether the minutes have been submitted, have been made public yet, but they will be coming out, obviously. And we put a requesting for some data to assist us with numbers and potential numbers coming through, and then to be able to try and plan better. And I know that yours has been sent through to us, so thank you for that. Then there was an update from our Pensioner Services Fire team about injuries, and that they're going to be temporarily suspending the injury reviews and the checks we do on the injury pensions in payment, whilst we try and get the remediable service statements out to the beneficiary members. But it does say when we're going to continue with certain cases. Just then there was just an update, a reminder to say that if you are sending an email to kind of find out the position of an estimate or a retirement pack or chasing it, can you please send that to Claudia rather than me, because I'm not involved in the team working. I'm kind of trying to get all the records ready for RSS production, and Claudio's the manager of the team that are producing, so if you can make sure that he's emailed these queries. And we've confirmed that we've updated a couple of our web-based forms, the leaver notification and the retirement notification. Gives a bit of an explanation of what we've changed, and it also confirms that you can stop using the retirement spreadsheets now and just send the web form. We've then got just bits of what training we've been offering, and are still offering. So there today, there is a data session at 10 o'clock, and then there's another one on the 11th. So they're asked if you haven't been on any of these, and some of your pension staff haven't been, then there's a couple still available to go on about understanding how contacts work and the data year end one. And then there was just the confirmation that we have, our ISP provider Bravura have managed to connect to the dashboard for all our fire clients. As you'll be aware, there was a delay and we were in a queue with money purchase to get the connection done. We were sat waiting, but they weren't ready for us. But now we have been connected. There's still more work to be done. Potentially they might be making changes to the dashboard because their members are going live with it at different times dependent what the scheme is. And so if they get feedback, then they will be making amendments as they feel are appropriate. But member access is at some point in the future, and we will be given 4 months notice of when member access is going to be for the fire schemes. So at the moment we're just in a holding place waiting for the next stage. And then after that there's nothing else. It's just the kind of normal general updates. So just what I would say in terms of some additions and some moving on, as I've mentioned, we've got recruitment going on for Matthews, but that recruitment is also extending to the normal team fire. They're going to be getting some additional resource as well. There was something I think that you'll have noted when the survey was submitted to TPR at the end of the last year, and that data scores the percentages have gone down, and this is because where the pension records are not fully rolled back, so some will be triggering an error on the data scoring because they're not in the full rollback position. So once we get to the point that all the records are rolled back, that will improve again. And also, as a result of age discrimination remedy and the data that's required for those specific members, actually what you're reporting against needs to change. some things are no longer relevant for those, and some will need other checks adding in. So our IT have been working on that over the last few weeks. So by the time the next submission is due the end of this year, then those data scores should have gone back up. And then just in terms of benefit statements, the RSSs that are outstanding for active members, we've just completed producing the statements for those who had a transfer in from a non-club or a personal pension. So we've just completed that. We're hoping by the end of next week we will have done the cases where members have had an annual allowance tax charge and scheme pays applies, but obviously we can only do those where we've had all we need from the members and we know that they've gone for scheme pays, and that part of it's all been signed off. So we will be doing as many of those as we can, and hopefully statements will go by the end of next week. And then we're looking at those who've transferred in from another fire authority, and we're looking at getting the data loaded and the records in the correct place for those statements. And I'm hoping, I've put a completion date of the 30th of April on that because the data can be a bit messy, but I'm hoping we can do it that bit sooner. In terms of deferred statements, we're not in a position for those to go yet, but we had a number of issues with being able to load data. Well, basically we couldn't load the data. Having had the change from Oracle to SQL at the end of November, and then we had a load of new calculations, fixes, drops from the software provider right at the end of January, we're now in a much better position for uploading, but there was still errors within that process, and the final error was fixed Monday the 23rd of February. So now that has been fixed, we can start to get the data loaded and the records rolled back for deferred members. And running alongside that, we need to add some changes in about pensions increase. So we're currently working on that. So we are working on deferred, they're just that little bit further behind than some of the others because of the fact that we haven't been able to upload the data. We're also working on pensioners, and we've uploaded data for the majority of pensioners and got those into the rollback position. And following the meetings with the oversight board, we will be prioritising any ill health retirement cases, and within that they're dropped into priority orders as well. So if there's anybody that was lower tier and age discrimination puts them in higher tier there first, and then it's higher tier, still higher tier, and then lower tier, still lower tier, and then any others that, because we do have some where the member hasn't given consent, so from the alternate scheme they're only entitled to deferred benefits, and we've also got some where they don't meet the criteria in the 15 scheme, so they're obviously going to retain the benefits and impairment, so they're kind of in this other block which we'll pick up right at the end. So that is pretty much the kind of update of the current position. Anybody's got any questions on any of that?
Thanks for that, Helen. I think there's a couple of questions I've got. Vicky in the room, and then there's Tony online. Thank you.
Hi, Helen. Very pleased to hear about the recruitment. Could you just clarify, are the 2 additional staff will that be additional numbers for the fire team? And when, once they've kind of had their checks and notice period, will you see them in operational, having completed their induction and training and actually making a difference?
I think we're just in we haven't appointed yet. We're still going through the recruitment process, so it's going to be a bit longer. I'm suspecting I don't know, I suppose it depends on what notice period they have to give, if any, and how long it takes for the DBS checks to come through. It's going to be the end. I would suspect it's potentially in April before the start, and then they'll have a week's induction, and then kind of specific training will start after that. And I think the same's going to happen with the additional members going into Matthews as well.
Okay, so ultimately it will be 2 additional members for the fire team, will it? They're not just replacements?
No, it's additional.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we have lost people, so, but yes, there's additional coming in as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Just if I can, sorry, yeah, thank you. If we just come in that, I'm just reflecting, and so I'm just getting in this in mind. I think when it might have been our meeting, probably maybe of about October, when you was describing the work that was going to be and the commitment to add this additional team resources that was going to be solely working in this area, and I believe there was a broad direction of travel. That would mean that these additional posts would solely work in this area and potentially sort out the backlog, so we could almost get into a position of BAU from about April onwards. I'm assuming from what I'm hearing now, because of the challenges of the recruitment to bring it through, that's not going to be the case now. And if we're not going to be looking until we get those resources until about April time, what's probably your assessment of the new timeline of us being able
just in normal team fire, for just dealing with estimates, retirements, transfers, that area?
In regards to, for fire, in regards to, you've committed to these 2 additional posts.
We've got 2 fire teams. We've got 3. We've got one fire team that does business as usual right up to dealing with the retirement. We've got a second pensioner services fire, which deals with deaths, widows, children's, re-employment, and then the impact on pension and injuries. And then we've got a Matthews team that is purely and simply dealing with Matthews.
Yeah, it's a Matthews team. I'm probably focusing on here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I mean the volume of work that we've got for Matthews is absolutely massive. So yes, the new people are going to assist with that. We've got some new people on board already, and they're really good, and they're keen to move on. So we are, I believe next week they're going to be trained on actually setting the cases up for payment. So hopefully we're going to get more dealt with in a month. We're also looking at some ideas internally about if we can change processing in any way that will also speed that up. And we're also discussing kind of extra measures about looking externally as to if we can get anything kind of looked at that will help us move the numbers. Because realistically, the numbers that we've got, a team of 10 are not going to move them fast enough to satisfy FRAs and members. So we are looking at alternatives to speed that process up as well.
Yeah, thanks, Helen. So yeah, because I'm just the reason why I'm probably asking that question is from when we had the previous meeting and that commitment to direction of travel, that there was that, and as I said, that broad time estimate that by about April, with this additional resources solely focusing on Matthews, that would have resolved the backlog by about April. Now, obviously, that picture is very different now, and the challenge that I'm having is that's what we shared with our workforce, because obviously we're getting a lot of queries in regards to people relating to Matthews, and we shared that broad overview. Now, clearly that timeline's changed, so it'll be helpful if we can almost have a broad estimate in regards to when will we be looking at resolving the backlog with these additional resources?
I think Laura is putting something together because she's asked for information from fire authorities about when information was sent to us, because it's the oversight board are looking at Matthews, and obviously they want things speeding up, but they've we've got a commitment to deal with them in the kind of receipt order unless there is somebody that needs pulling out as an exceptional case with terminal illness or those kind of things. So I think Laura is putting that together, and then I would expect that will go through the oversight board, but then will be made available to all FRAs.
Okay, thanks. So so for us to getting updates in regards to that, are we in a position now where we're going to get probably those updates from the oversight board rather than through from our pension board?
I think so. My understanding is that the oversight board is meeting weekly, and that they will be sending information on from those meetings to FRAs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Tony, is this what you want to come in on? Sorry.
Yeah, it was. So I suppose it was two things. Obviously, I've got a standard agenda item now on the oversight board in terms of, as a scheme manager, in terms of what comes to me as a scheme manager, and that's on the agenda today. So I can give, obviously Helen's alluded to it in her updates, but I can give a bit of an update from as a recipient of that in terms of what's coming through that board, I suppose. So that was one thing I just wanted to mention, because I'm conscious it was on the agenda. We might end up going down that track. The other thing was just, I suppose it was just a question to Helen that, so just really for me, for clarification, the Matthews team is a new team, isn't it, in terms of its creation?
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I suppose it was just around, so we had 2 staff start in January, but then they've left. Is that correct?
No, we had 4 staff.
Right. And 2 of the 4.
No, I thought only 1 had left.
Well, it was just in your report. It says, sure, in your report it says 2 have left. I could have appreciate you can't go into details of that, but it's just it said 2 of the permanent pensions officers who joined the team in early January are unfortunately no longer part of the team. That's what you've put in the report.
Yeah, I mean, the report's put together by Suki and Matt, and they get
yeah. No,
I'm assuming it's coming. Right. So yeah, I knew 1 had definitely. They'd got another job. They went through the week's induction, did 1 day, and then left because they'd got another job.
Okay.
I'm not sure of the circumstances of the other
That's
one.
okay.
But yes.
Don't need to go into the circumstances.
Yeah.
It was just clarification on, we'd had 2 new staff. Obviously there was 4. We've had 2 that have subsequently left, and so we're recruiting another 2. I assume that's what.
Yeah.
But the new team is
2, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
At least 2.
Okay, that's what I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that, Tony. We can probably pick up those that further conversation on the update from the oversight board. That would make a bit more sense. Thank you. Open up the floor. Any other questions? Moving on. Vicky, you look anticipated. No. Okay. I suppose there might is I guess probably I think there's something about an action for communication through to our staff in regards to the update of the timelines for the benefit statements and the deferred statements. I think there's probably an action for us to take on here that we can ensure we communicate out to scheme members of what the and not that we're going to nail it to the exact date, but the broad new timeline in regards to expectations of when benefit statements will be released. Would that be again, not compromising the work that you're doing and committing, but Helen, that would be a reasonable approach for us to communicate that through to our pension members?
Yeah, I think that there'll be some broad timelines on the project plan that's going to be going to the oversight board. So then I think that'll be shared. So you'd have some timelines on that to be able to put into any communication that you would want. So.
Okay, so Tony, if that's something coming through the oversight board, would we be able to get what that wording is through the updates from that board meeting?
Yeah, good, definitely.
So Tom, we'll just have an action that following updates from the oversight board, we can use that to communicate out to pension members. Thank you. Sorry, and it's relating to benefit statements and deferred statements. Any other questions for Helen? No. Okay, thank you very much then. In that case, we'll move on to item 5, verbal update, Vicky, in regards to current issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark. I've got a variety of different subjects here. So what I propose to do is cover a couple of subjects and then ask if there's any questions before we move on, rather than try and do all the updates in one go. So firstly, internal dispute resolution procedure. We've received 2 in the last quarter since the previous board, both relating to Matthew's exercise. One related to the turnaround times of calculations from the Government Actuaries Department, who are undertaking the calculations for the most complex of cases. So issues with the timeliness of responses from GAD have been escalated to MHCLG via the LGA, and this is currently a national issue being experienced by FRA, so it's not something we can respond to locally at this stage, other than inform of that process of looking into that. The second IDRP was from one of our retired members. This was escalated to stage 2, which is considered internally by our executive councillor, and that has been responded to, and that exhausts our internal process for that one. Okay, any questions on IDRPs? No, okay. Breaches. There was one breach in the production of annual benefit statements and RSS to be considered for reporting. This is on the ongoing delays in the production of ABS in RSSs for the deferred members for 2025. So I've got an update in terms of, some of this may repeat some of what Helen has said, but it was just kind of a summary of where we are with that production. So West Yorkshire Pension Fund were able to issue annual benefits remedial statements for active members with some caveats by the 30th of June 2025 for the 2023-2024 financial year. So active members with the following outstanding have not received their statements, which will also impact on the receipt of 2025 statements. They're ones with outstanding transfer or inter-brigade transfers, members with pension sharing orders or divorce debits, annual allowance scheme pays deductions, members with additional pension contributions in modified scheme members, and outstanding Matthew's second options cases, which is partly what we've been talking about earlier. So as of at the end of December 2025, it was 18 out of a total of 190 active members are yet to receive their statements. West Yorkshire Pension Fund did not consider this level of outstanding statements to be a material breach, and have advised that they would not be reporting this element to the TPR. So we'll come back to the question in terms of what this board would like to do as an employer. Just a little bit more information. Deferred members, Helen talked about that there's the issue around rollback continuing. I'm not going to go through all the text here, but at the end of December 2025, 207, which is the whole 207 deferred members, are yet to receive their statements. And as we've just talked about, the failure to produce the 2025 statements has been reported to the TPR by West Yorkshire as a material breach. Pensioner members, it's not expected that pensioner cases will be able to receive their ABS or RSS for 2025 until at least December 2025, that's said. Where possible, these will be rolled back, and again, it talked about the technical part of that, and those figures are reported to us. I don't want to go through all of the figures as tables, etc. It's quite a lot of detail that we can supply if needed. So effectively, I guess the decision for this board is whether it feels we need to report a material breach for the active members that haven't received pension statements. And at the moment, that is 18 out of a total of 190 for 2025.
Thank you, Vicky. Any questions before we have a conversation in regards to that? I think I need to bring a point of order, Tom. Is it possible we can just pause, have an adjournment on this part of the meeting? I just need to have a conversation about some of the constitution, if that's okay.
As long as the board is in agreement.
Just for 2 minutes, if that's okay.
If we just mute microphones, that'll be fine for now. I'll get the someone from IT to put the card on the screen.
Okay, welcome back everybody. Thank you for your patience for that short adjournment. We will continue now with the Fire Pension Board meeting. So the last item we've just just about to discuss is in regards to the issues update. Right, Vicky, and one of the areas for discussion is the area about the 18 out of the 190 annual benefit statements that haven't been issued at this moment of time. Just to recap with clarity on that one, please.
Yeah, so these were for the active members for 2025. There was 18 out of 190 that didn't receive because they had some special circumstances, and we listed those earlier in the meeting. And it was a decision of the board to whether we wanted to report this as a breach to the pension regulator.
Okay, thank you. So open up to board for comment and discussion in regards to benefits for reporting the breach as described.
If I could just question West Yorkshire as to why they feel it wouldn't be a breach, given the numbers provided.
Sorry, Helen, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, management have been to different meetings across the sector, and one, not all fire, one local government. There was just a consensus across the body that where the number that had been produced was over 90%, then there wouldn't. Their view was that that wouldn't necessitate a breach report, and so they followed that.
Sorry, Helen, just trying to, who was they, sorry, when you said that it was discussed about the 90%, sorry?
That was discussed at some local government national pensions meeting. I don't know exactly which one, but the feedback we got was, you know, in local government, they have this 90% position, and they don't report a material breach if what's being produced is greater than 90%. That doesn't mean that fire authorities and individual fire authorities have to take the same stance, but that was the rationale between to come up with the decision at West Yorkshire not to report.
Yep, thank you for that, Helen. Yeah, hi, Vicky.
Yeah, so we're kind of on the cusp of that, because I think ours it's about 9.5% that we haven't produced for the active members. I mean, ultimately, I think if the board do decide that we report a breach, it shows that we're aware of it and managing it and pursuing it with our administrators, etc. I don't see there being a disbenefit of reporting a breach. It just requires then that we have an action plan and we're managing it. I think it, you know, in terms of the members, it would appear better that we are aware that that's happening and we're doing something to manage it, so that, you know, it gives us some defence if we have IDRPs, etc., where people are making complaints on this basis. We have said, yes, we're aware, we reported it, and we've got an action plan to put it right. That would be my advice to the board, but ultimately it's for the scheme manager and the chair of the board really to make that decision.
Sorry, who's coming in, sorry? Oh, hi, Helen.
Hi, yeah, my comment would be that this is not do or don't, but my comment would be that everything that Vicky has said would be achieved by even if you don't report, because you've still to produce the same breach report. you've to analyse it, you've to put your decision, you've to decide whether it, and then you can put some kind of follow-up mitigation actions within that, even if you choose not to report. So I think everything that Vicky said it would achieve, you could still be achieving through not reporting, because you have to you have to complete the same form. It's only the end decision that would be different. But that's not saying that my view is don't report or don't report, but I think you can achieve the same end result by not. So that's all I wanted to say there.
Thanks a lot, Helen. Councillor, it's Tony and then Councillor McGonigal. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Helen and others. I suppose for me, I'd agree with Vicky's point, really. I hear what Helen's saying, but I think I'd agree with Vicky's point in terms of transparency and just being, and reporting it so that members can see the issue that we take it as, really. So that's all I wanted to say. So as scheme manager, I would support that.
Thank you, Tony. Councillor McGonigal.
Yeah, thank you. I think Tony summed up what I was going to say. I disagree that we'll get the same result by not reporting it. I think that the one thing that we don't get is the optics, as Vicky mentioned. I take on board what you say about having the same result at the end, but like I say, we're not getting the optics from the members for them to see that we're doing something about it.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, I would just say that reporting it to TPR doesn't assist in any way in getting that case out the door. It doesn't do anything positive for the member and the end result for the member, because all you're doing is telling TPR there's 18 that didn't get it. TPR can't force us to produce those 18 if we can't produce them. And the reason that they haven't got it is because we're not in a position to produce and reporting to TPR. To be fair, I think I think everybody should report. And my personal stance, I wasn't necessarily in favour of WIPF not reporting, but that was just a personal position, and we've got an organisational position. So I'm not saying this because I think you shouldn't report, but I think you need to be clear on what you're achieving about really what you need that breach report completed, because it is a breach. So you have to fill that breach report in regardless, and you go through the breach report and you answer the questions in the breach report, and you then end up with a red, amber, green as a result of those questions, and then that kind of leads you into whether then you feel you should be reporting or you shouldn't reporting. I don't think you should be making the decision to report or not report without having a completed breach report available in front of you, because you need that breach report whether you report it or you don't.
Okay, thank you, Helen. Vicky, you want to come in, and then we've got Tony again, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. Yeah, it's helpful to understand that process of reporting. I think, obviously, as you know, the Lincolnshire County Council and Fire and Rescue want to be as open and transparent as possible. We definitely do want to fill in the report. And again, over to Tony, really, as the scheme manager, if we then decide that having completed it, that we're going to report it. But I think I also appreciate all that you're saying in terms of it won't help you get the statements out the door any quicker, but it won't cause any further delay either. It just is about us showing transparency really to our members, that we're aware that there is a breach, and that we've considered it, whether it's material or not, and the reporting.
Yeah, I mean the ultimate outcome is that actually it potentially could cause more work and it could delay production, because TPR may choose to act on that breach and come to yourselves and us and ask for more detailed information. I don't think they will, potentially, because they're aware of the issues that all public sector schemes are having with age discrimination remedy. And as LGA do keep reiterating, although we think fire's in a bad place, we're in a much better position than the majority of other public sector schemes in where we are within the process. So potentially, you know,
I
it
don't-
could reporting 18 could produce more work for
Okay.
all parties involved if TPR choose to take action.
I mean,
But again, that's
these
your
18
choice.
For these 18 cases, Helen, I'm sure we do have the detail of why each one hasn't gone out. So I don't think that scrutiny would be a problem for us. And at the end of the day, if it's highlighting this as a problem that we know we've got nationally, at least it helps us when we are challenged by our members and our employees locally about what we are doing to try and progress things. So I don't see that scrutiny as being something we want to avoid.
Yep. Thank you, Vicky. Helen. Tony, do you want to come in?
Yeah, no, thank you. I suppose for me, I hear everything that you're saying, Helen. I hear it all. And I suppose the purpose of this board is about governance and decision making. And I think for me, you know, if we believe there is a breach, governance wise, we should report it. I appreciate the consequences of that may be no different. I totally get that. But I think for me, it's about good governance, reporting it in through to show that we understand the position in terms of where we are. But I totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah, you see, I would argue that making a decision to report a breach without having completed the breach report is not good governance.
Okay.
You've got to have the detail and you've got to know. And the key thing with TPR is the word material. Just because there is a breach, the TPR reporting is not reporting of a breach. It's reporting what is constituted to be a material breach, and that's what the breach report does. It gives you a whole set of questions, and you answer them, and ultimately you then come to the decision right at the end: is this breach material or isn't it material? If it's material, you report, and if you decide it's not material, you don't report. Which is why I don't think the decision making should be at this meeting now, because I think you need that completed report, and then you make the decision on it. And that decision may well be your reporting. I'm not saying it isn't, but you shouldn't be making the decision now because you haven't got enough evidence in front of you. That's where I'm coming from. I think the decision to ultimately reporting, I've got no problem with, and I don't necessarily think that would be the wrong decision. I just don't think you can make that decision now.
Okay. Well, can I make a suggestion, Chair?
Yeah, please go ahead, Tony.
Well, I think our position is we're minded to. I think given Helen's, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on breaches, governance and such like, but I think given Helen's view, my view would be, and I welcome Vicky's thoughts on this, is whether or not whilst we are minded to report, we do that review of the 18, and then subsequently, as scheme manager, I can report that anyway. I don't have to wait until this meeting is next in play. If everyone's in agreement with that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Helen. We need to fill in the report to get that detail anyway. So then if the chair of the board delegates it to you, Tony, to make that decision then of whether we report it outside of the meeting before the next meeting, we can do that.
Fine.
Hi, Councillor McGonigal.
Yeah, just a question for Helen, please. What's the time frame to be able to get that report completed?
You'd be doing it internally. It's up to yourselves to complete the breach report. So there's an example of a breach report on the Scheme Advisory Board website. So I think there's so I'm just kind of sharing it. So you should have your own. You should have produced your own breach assessment template, which might actually be a direct copy of this. So Lincolnshire should have a breach assessment template, and so you just do it when you're assessing it, what it is, how you've identified it, and then you've got this cause-effect reaction, wider implications, red, amber, green. Then you've got some other stuff, and at the end, you're either reporting it as a material breach or you're recording it just as a breach. And so that's the thing, you need to go through the process of completing this, and then at the end, you'll have your decision making based on what you've put above.
Yeah, thank you,
So-
Helen. I do recall, Tony, if it helps, that we did go through this process quite a number of years ago when we had the payroll hours and we weren't able to produce any annual benefit statements for a couple of years. So I was familiar with it at the time. I'll just need to recall the information and go through that. So I don't think it'll be a big issue for us to do that internally, Tony.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, any other views, comments? Yeah, Paul?
Can you offer us any assurances that the 18 will be looked at as a matter of urgency, please?
We're working on all the ones we possibly can do at the moment. So we're working on the ones we can.
Okay, thank you for that. So thank you for that. I think that's been a really healthy, useful discussion in regards to the process, the benefits, and a bit of the rationale of if we would go down the breach. If I can probably offer a decision for us to comment on and then potentially vote. So I'm getting a sense from the board that we'd like to progress the reporting of breach that's relating to the 18 active members as being described in the previous report, with the direction of travel of that we would pursue completing a breach report and then offering the delegated decision to the scheme manager on the receipt of that report to pursue the breach outside of this meeting, which would give that delegated responsibility. Offering that as a suggested direction of travel. Any comments or views on that as an option?
Okay. So if we could have a seconder and a vote.
Okay, so I'll have as a proposal. Have we got a seconder? And then we can have a vote on for that decision direction of travel.
Yep, that's unanimous.
Okay, thank you, Tom. That's carried. Thank you for that. Yeah, useful discussion on that, team. Thank you. Okay. Anything else on the report?
Yes, so in terms of the rest of the current issue for the verbal update, we've got a couple more subjects which I'll go through fairly quickly because I think we've talked a lot about these subjects already. So the first one is Sergeant McLeod, age discrimination remedy, just an update. There are 473 individuals in scope of Sergeant, and of these, 186 are also in scope of Matthew's second options exercise. My report's just jumped, just 1 second, I'll get back to it. At retirement, individuals receive 2 sets of figures, one for their legacy scheme benefits and another for reformed scheme benefits, and they have a choice which one is best for them. The Matthews election has to be made before West Yorkshire can calculate and provide retirement benefits. Since the introduction of the legislation on the 1st of October 2023, 31 retirements have completed. 23 of these have chosen legacy scheme benefits. 4 have chosen reformed scheme benefits, and 4 members decided not to take their benefits at this time. We currently have 13 retirements ongoing. Out of the 12 retirements ongoing, 10 are also Matthews cases. So that was just really an update on numbers for that. And then going on to the Matthew's second options exercise, there's tables with all sorts of detail here. I don't intend to go through that, but just a bit of a summary. Of the 720 individuals who are in scope of the exercise, 408 have indicated they wish to receive costs of the buyback, and 21 of the individuals have indicated they do not wish to receive the costs. Since the last board report, 4 who previously said they were not interested have changed their mind. We are still waiting responses from a further 293 individuals despite several reminders and utilising the assistance of the FBU and former colleagues forum to try and engage with individuals. As the window for this exercise has been extended, we will attempt again to engage further with this group to ensure that this opportunity is maximised. 87 of this group who have yet to respond would be eligible for an immediate pension on payment of contributions. Priority continues to be on processing special pensioner members and active members who are retiring and would be immediately eligible for pension payments. To date, only one individual having received their figures has decided not to proceed. We are waiting some input from West Yorkshire Pension Fund on processing cases where pension is already in payment and original lump sums need to be recalculated. This has been regularly raised with West Yorkshire Pension Fund. We understand they're working through queries that have been with them for several months currently. West Yorkshire Pensions are now working on both new pensioner members and those with a pension currently in payment. We are aware there are significant delays in processing payments to members currently. However, the West Yorkshire team, as we heard earlier, has been expanded to speed this process up. A dedicated member services manager and resources dedicated to Matthews are now in place as part of the work of the Oversight Board, a process to escalate cases from fire and FRAs that require urgent payment, predominantly for reasons of ill health, has been agreed. The decision to prioritise payments will be made by the Oversight Board. We are still awaiting guidance and tools to be able to action the amendments to the rules impacting special deferred members and deceased members. Some changes require amendments to legislation, but it has been confirmed that individuals will have a further 12 months to receive the costs to buy back pension from that point, the point the legislation is made. Currently, this is anticipated to be in place for the 1st of April. Work on those on the special deferred category continues to be paused temporarily whilst we await confirmation of the changes around the options available to them to avoid further confusion, particularly for those with membership in other fire pension schemes. Further work to assess eligibility against the expended criteria is underway around deceased firefighters following confirmation of the full consultation outcome. We have been advised that those deciding not to join should be sent figures regardless of their previous decision. We are working closely with West Yorkshire Pensions on those in scope of both Matthews, sergeants and those that may have gaps in their pensionable service, giving them the option to make a contingent decision to ensure they are given all the appropriate options based on their individual circumstances. Processes are in place for audit and reporting purposes and for managing the additional payments to be made either by invoice or via payroll deductions, as the repayment method can be up to 20 years. The payment records of all those continuing to pay for Matthew's first options contributions have been reviewed and statements issued. Okay, so there's a lot of information there, very technical, but if anybody's got any questions or comments, I may or may not be able to answer.
No, thank you for the comprehensive update. Open the floor to Vicky. Any questions in regards to that? No, that you've.
Okay, so I've got one other option, one pension dashboard.
Okay, yeah, back over to you, Vicky. Thank you.
The verbal update also had listed pensions dashboard. I know this was mentioned earlier, so it's just a very quick update that West Yorkshire have confirmed they're now connected to Money Helper Pensions Dashboard on behalf of Lincolnshire Fire and Rescue. No issues have been found to date with this. Once connected, testing of the platform will happen in phases. Phase 1 will take place in quarter 2-3 of 25-26 with 300 handpicked users. Phase 2 commencing in quarter 3 will be with approximately 20,000 users who will be specifically invited. This will enable any connection and usability issues to be resolved before released more generally. The timescales of this yet have to be defined, but 4 to 6 months notice will be provided prior to this becoming fully live.
Okay, no, thank you for that. I think that's a positive direction of travel in regards to getting that pension dashboard up and running. Thank you for that. Okay, any other questions for Vicky? No, okay, thank you very much. In that case, we'll move on to item 6, which is in regards to the Fire Pension Board Plan. Looking down in regards to first table, which is relating to items and completion dates. Outstanding live items are on Road 2120, which is the annual benefit statements for 2025. Completion date was 4 August 2025. It is still work is being commenced, I think, and it's on the forward plan. I think we've had the discussions in regards to where we are with that, so that's going to be still work ongoing. 2122 is the TPR Public Service Governance and Administration Survey. Should have been completed by January 2026. At the moment, it's got under work commenced. Have we got an update on that? Excellent. We can have that as completed, please, Tom. And if we can put a additional column, which will be 2124, which will be the repeat, but it'll be for January 2027, as it's an annual survey. Thank you. And we can have that recorded as an action, please, Tom. Thank you. And then the final one is 2123, which is provide year-end return to Home Office fire pensions top-up grant is for April 2026. So I'm assuming that work's ongoing. We'll take that work. That work's ongoing. Yeah, recognising finance are not available for today, but we should have that reported in for next meeting. So, Tom, if we could just have an action to ensure we forward that through to the strategic finance representative for the completion of that fire pensions top-up grant by April and report into next board meeting. Thank you. Going down, we've got the table just articulating training areas for all board members. I'm aware that training plans and dates have been sent out to board members. So again, as always, the ask is, as and when the training's been picked up, if you can just inform through to board so we can update that spreadsheet. And then final element is in the risk register. So recognising from the discussions that we've had today, which has been primarily around the direction of travel to looking at the process for breach. I had a look at that through the meeting. Probably relates to, it's a combination of A1, which is member data incomplete or inaccurate, and A4, which is lack of skilled resources in regards to the capacity for the delivery of those annual statements. Now, currently, we've got, for both of those, we've got an inherent risk as rated as red, and with the current control measures, we've got then the residual risk as amber. I suppose what I'm offering at this moment in time, until we've got that there, that risk still seems to be at amber, unless anybody's got a view that needs to be either escalated or de-escalated from these discussions. Okay. So I think if we got as we've got it minuted in regards to the discussion, what I'd offer is that that particular area is reviewed by next board meeting on the outcomes of the process for the material breach. The risk register then is still relevant for the current position. Okay, then we'll move on to item 7, which is just an overview of the fire pension scheme bulletins. Really just, headline areas. Thank you.
Okay, there is some detail of these on pages 83 to 86. I'm not going to go through the full detail, but I've just got 1 or 2 bullet points from each of those bulletins. So from the November bulletin, number 99, it says LGA are working with MCGLC and GAD to understand the delays FRAs are experiencing with cases that need to be calculated by GAD. FRAs have been asked to manage member expectations and discourage direct contact with GAD to trace progress. So, you know, we do frequently in our communications and calls with members, try and explain the complexity to all this data. Next one, funding has been provided for financial year 25-26 to support the implementation of Matthew and MacLeod remedies. This was included in the MAE pension top-up grant paid in July 2025. Should this be insufficient, evidence requests will be needed to be made. Any monies paid will be offset against the next AME pension top-up grant scheduled for July 2026. If I just may make a comment on this, Mark, I think it would be helpful to understand from our strategic finance representative what that amount of money is, because I'm not sure that we are transferring it necessarily to the area where we are adding the resource in within the HR and pensions admin teams. So I think it would be helpful maybe as an action to understand the detail of that.
No, I agree on that. So if we can have that down as an action, Tom, and we can have that feedback from the finance strategic lead for the pension board. Thank you, Tom.
The bulletin in November confirmed that there had been some funding provided to support the implementation of Matthews and MacLeod remedies, and it was included in the pension top-up grant paid in July 2025. I had been aware we'd had some previous years, but I'd understood that had stopped. So therefore, I think we do need the update from finance to understand how much that is, because that will help us in terms of the funding of the additional people we have working on that.
Okay, you've got that, Thomas. Okay, we can succinct that down to the final action. Thank you.
Okay, and then continuing on, the pension regulator published revised guidance on expectations of schemes to improve data management. Scheme managers remain ultimately responsible for data quality, even if tasks are delegated to administrators. They've published new guidance and templates to support with this work, and I think Helen did refer to some of that data quality earlier, so we know that's ongoing. Bulletin 100 from December 2025, new member contribution banding will come into effect from April 2026, and I'm aware there's lots of work been going on this. Do you want to comment, Tracy?
So letters are currently going out to all members to inform of the changes to how contributions will be deducted from and calculated from April onwards. It will now be based on actual pay rather than whole-time equivalent. Members should receive those letters by the end of this week.
Okay, thank you. The outcome of the Matthews exercise consultation has been published. I think we've talked about that. The accompanying legislation to enact is still awaited, as are the tools to undertake the calculations. It is expected, this was in December, it was expected that further work would be required this year on Matthews-related cases submitted to employment tribunals and stayed in 2022. These relate to aggregation and disqualifying breaks in service. Bulletin January 2026, guidance on deemed elections has been provided to scheme managers. This may need to be used to make a decision on behalf of a member if they do not respond to their immediate choice remedial service statement within 12 months. Administrators will be pursuing periodic reminders, and additional guidance from GAD will be released in spring. A new member website has been launched with a new standardised opt-out form. FRAs will be asked to record reasons for opting out to enable trends to be identified and report periodically to the Scheme Advisory Board.
And I can confirm that my team have started doing that now so that it will be easily reported.
Okay, that's the end of my update. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you a lot for that, Vicky. Any questions for Vicky in regards to the pension scheme bulletins? Thank you very much, Vicky. In that case, we're going to we'll move on to item 8. Tracy, any verbal update in regards to the Fire Pension Officers Group?
So the main update is that we had a discussion at the group to say whether it was effective in the current format and maybe to look at aligning the groups more to regions rather than the whole of the North East. And Helen is taking that forward, I believe, with the LGA to look at that. but it may be that we're better aligned with other authorities like Nottinghamshire rather than the North East Region Pension Officers Group. So I'll update the progress on that at the next board meeting, but would welcome any comments on which authorities near to us it would be good for us to be meeting with.
No, I think it's useful to have that review. I suppose my the question is there benefit of having an alignment where we have where fire and rescue services are linked into the county council, because I think that's an area where, in regards to the administration, is slightly different in regards to a standalone fire authority. I don't think it's a particular big issue, but when we're talking alignment, it does feel more natural to be within the region. But that's probably only my only comment.
Yeah, and they have said as well that there's more beneficial to face-to-face meetings rather than online. So geographically, it would make sense for us to go to these face-to-face meetings near Lincolnshire. So,
yep. Thank you for that, Tracy. Thank you. Okay, moving on then into item 9. Helen, have we got any update from the Scheme Advisory Board?
The meeting's next week.
Timing is everything, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, we'll just have that record at the timing next week, and then obviously we'll have an update at the next board meeting on that. Thank you. And then item 10, update from LGA in the Fire Pensions Oversight Board. Tony, handing over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. So, as Helen has mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, in terms of some of the actions that have fallen out. So, in discussion with a number of authorities and the Local Government Association, an oversight board was established in January this year. I won't go through the terms of reference in absolute detail because, I'll try and keep it real. So in terms of the purpose of the board really is, as you'd expect, governance, oversight and challenge to West Yorkshire Pension Fund in respect of implementation of the Sergeant Remedy and in line with the statutory requirements around that. Delivery of the administrator's aspect of the Matthews Remedy, and again in accordance with the relevant regulations, and also BAU, business as usual pension administration service to the normal agreed standards. It's a sort of, it's a group that has a number of nominated scheme managers from fire authorities on there. There are also representatives from the LGA, as well as senior officers from West Yorkshire, and it's chaired by the LGA. In terms of, it meets weekly, and then that is shared with scheme managers, and then accordingly I will then share that with pension and HR colleagues in terms of outcomes on that. So I guess just to sort of summarise, given it's a fairly, the group's only been going really for 6 weeks. The outcomes so far have been, I guess, dealing with some of the more governance type things, which was agreed in terms of reference and those sorts of things. But there has been some sort of actions that have moved things forward, even if it's just small steps. I think the first thing, which is what Helen mentioned, which was around 12 weeks KPI on estimates, and therefore not to ideally not to chase the West Yorkshire when that, given we've now got that 12 weeks in process, so it doesn't interrupt in terms of that work. There's been a agreement that some authorities, we're not included in that yet, can have access to what's called the back scanning information, to enable those authorities to produce their calculations quicker, which is a good move. Obviously, we'll look forward to when Lincolnshire's included in that. There is now a peer support groups channel that has been set up around Matthews remedies. The aim of that, I think, is to try and keep West Yorkshire out of those sort of discussions where possible, so that there can be some discussions with another authority or whatever about what we think we should do in a particular way forward. And then the final thing really was just around the Matthews remedy. Obviously, manual calculations are still being undertaken around that. I appreciate it's outside of West Yorkshire's control because Civica are the software provider, and there's been an escalation or proposed escalation to them in terms of how they can move that forward. And then there's an alternative, more radical solution, which is about something looking at alternatives to that outside of that. So that's all I wanted to say. That was really just a very brief overview of what's come forward through the Oversight Board since its inception a month or so ago.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Really useful to get a bit of that overview in regards to the Oversight Board. I mean, first of all, any questions for anybody on the board? Okay. Helen, is there anything you wanted to add on in regards to the Oversight Board at all?
No, not really. I would just say, and it's not really to do with the Oversight Board, but it is to do with Matthews. Obviously, the resource for the workload is not where it should, and I am not trying to kind of move any responsibility from West Yorkshire Pension Fund when I make this next statement. But one of the things that we have found is that when we are getting the cost calculations sent through where a Matthews member has signed up, and we're then expected to take it to the next stage in terms of providing quotes and making payments, these calculations are not correct, and we're then having to work with the FRAs. And I'm not. This is not a singular statement to Lincolnshire. This is a global statement for all 24. We're then having to work with the FRAs about what we think the calculation should be, where they think it's wrong. And I just want to make the statement that actually that part is not the responsibility of West Yorkshire Pension Fund. We should get information that is accurate when we get it, and we should just be able to pay it. So our resources are being diverted to something that actually is not our responsibility and is therefore taking time away from the cases that could be paid. And so I'm not trying to minimise where we are in the position and the fact that we haven't got resources, but I do think it's right that the board is aware that some of the resources we do have is being diverted into an area that actually is not the responsibility of the pensions administrator, but we're doing it to make sure that the member gets exactly what they're entitled to and they're paying the right amount to get that. LGA and the Oversight Board have both agreed that that is the right way and they don't want us to stop that. But obviously, if something doesn't come to us right, then that's time used by that team on something other than payments, which are the thing that are causing FRAs their angst. So I just wanted that kind of stated to the board and minuted. But I'm not taking away from the issues that we have got and the backlog of payments we have got, and that we're in a position that we shouldn't really be in. But you do need to know the other side of it as well.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Helen. Understood there, but I think, Vicky, you want to come in?
Yeah, thank you for Helen. And I know that our teams in Lincolnshire really do appreciate all the help and support that West Yorkshire give on these complex cases. And as you know, we've had, like many fire authorities, because this was a new requirement, we didn't have staff skilled in doing these things, and we've had to utilise staffing that we have and try and get them up to speed on that. And
as well.
we do rely, yeah, we do, and it's HR staff in Lincolnshire generally that have been doing some of these calculations, and actually we have had to learn it from from nothing really in terms and working very much with Tracy with her pensions knowledge and with yourself. So we do really appreciate that joint working, and I know that's gone on for a number of years, and we wouldn't be as far on as we are now if we hadn't had that. And I think we're not, in Lincolnshire, we're not in the worst position compared to some fire authorities. I think we've managed to progress more than some.
Absolutely.
As a result of that joint working. So we do appreciate that, and we also appreciate that whenever we are asking you things, it's taking you away from doing your processing. So I think the peer support group will be helpful, so that hopefully you don't get asked the same question by 24 different fire authorities, and if you've given the answer once, you know, that information can be shared. So that's a positive move. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Vicky, and thank you for that, Helen. And just for my own comments in regards to it for the Chair Board, I fully appreciate and recognise the position for West Yorkshire and also for LCC in regards to the administration. And it is we know it's a collective challenge, and it is it's good to see that the Oversight Board is giving that direction of travel that actually the focus needs to be on what's going to be best for the pension members, to enable them to access and to be able to get their pensions, and I think it is only right that we are going to have to look at the ways how we can collectively come together to try and to meet those current demands. But yeah, just to echo Vicky's comments, we do appreciate the support and the diverting of resources from West Yorkshire to ensure that as what this board's responsibility is in the best interests of Lincolnshire's pension members. So thank you for that update on that. Okay, so I think unless there's any other business that anybody wanted to raise, I think that comes to the conclusion of the meeting. Only to say that the date of the next meeting is scheduled in for the 4th of June 2026. So on that, I shall bring the meeting to a close and thank everybody for attendance and participation in today's board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.